When I first watched Frieren Beyond Journey's End, Stark didn't stand out to me right away. He wasn't the strongest or the most mysterious or even the funniest. He just felt real. He's awkward, unsure, constantly second-guessing himself, and that hit a little too close to home. In a show filled with centuries-old mages and stoic prodigies, Stark's fear made him stand out, not because it was unusual, but because it was familiar. Most heroes are written to be fearless, or at least to pretend they are. But Stark flinches at loud noises, he overthinks, he has this look sometimes like he's trying to convince himself he belongs in the same world as everyone else, and somehow that's what makes him so compelling. In episode 8, you can see this theme playing out everywhere, even beyond Stark. The episode contrasts the impulsive, reactive choices of the younger demon with Frieren's calm, deliberate composure. One acts out of fear, but the other out of awareness. That difference between reaction and reflection is at the heart of both psychology and personal growth. Frieren represents metacognition, the ability to think about your thinking, to pause before you act. Stark, on the other hand, he starts from the opposite end of the spectrum. His journey is about learning to slow down, how to breathe, and how to decide who he wants to be before his fear decides it for him. Stark's story starts the way a lot of real stories do, with loss and guilt. His village is gone, his family's gone, and he's been living under the shadow of Ison, the kind of warrior who makes everyone else feel like a fraud. When you've been through something that terrifying, fear doesn't feel optional anymore. It almost becomes an instinct. Stark isn't lazy or cowardly. He's someone whose brain learned that danger can appear out of nowhere, and that surviving sometimes means running. Psychologists call it avoidance conditioning, but really it's just what happens when your body remembers what your mind wants to forget. So when Frieren and Fern ask him to join their journey, his hesitation isn't weakness, it's logic. It's the brain saying, if leaving got people killed last time, maybe staying is safer. But here's what I love about how Frieren handles it. Nobody tries to fix him. Frieren doesn't give him a pep talk or push him to be brave. She just gives him space. She knows, maybe better than anyone, that growth can't be forced. That's something I think about a lot, how people can't really change until they choose to. You can't rush someone into courage. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is wait until you're ready to try again. The road of trials is never about one big test. It's about the slow grind, the little moments that stack up until you realize you've changed. For Stark, that means living with two people who constantly challenge his comfort zone. Fern, who's disciplined and emotionally composed, never lets him slack off. Frieren, with her centuries of patience, treats him like he's already capable, which is almost scarier than being treated like he's not. He starts fighting monsters again. He trains, complains, freezes, and then fights anyway. It's not glamorous, it's not even pretty, but it's progress. There's a theory in therapy called gradual exposure. Facing what scares you in small, manageable doses until your body learns that you can survive it. Stark's life on the road is exactly that. Every time he confronts something that terrifies him and lives to see another day, he's reteaching his brain what safety feels like. I think that's what courage actually looks like in life. Not some dramatic moment where everything clicks, but this slow, uncertain process of relearning what you thought you already knew. And through it all, you see these quiet shifts in him. He starts talking back a little more. He laughs. He trains with more focus. The fear's still there, but it's not really running the show anymore. Every story like this has that one point, the abyss, where the hero faces the thing they've been avoiding since the beginning. For Stark, it isn't about dying in battle. It's about freezing up and failing again. It's the thought of everyone depending on him and him not being enough. There's a moment when he's standing in front of an enemy, hands shaking, terrified, and he still steps forward. That's it. That's the entire point. Kierkegaard once wrote about the dizziness of freedom, that terrifying awareness that we have the power to act, but no guarantee that it'll work out. Stark lives in that tension constantly. He knows he might fail, but acts anyway. That's not blind courage, that's faith in motion. And then there's Frieren, calm, deliberate, dangerous. Episode 8 makes that contrast clear again. The younger demon acts impulsively and dies for it, while Frieren's composure represents total mastery over instinct. Stark's journey is basically trying to bridge that gap, from reaction to intention, from fear to focus. When he finally stands his ground, he's not conquering fear, he's integrating it. That's what Carl Jung called confronting the shadow self, acknowledging the parts of yourself you'd rather hide and learning to live with them. Stark's shadow isn't his cowardice, his shame, or even his memory of failure. And the moment he fights while shaking, he's not erasing those feelings, he's owning them. That's what makes him a hero. The end of the hero's journey isn't about glory, it's about coming back with something that matters. For Stark, that elixir isn't strength or fame, it's understanding. He realizes that fear will never disappear, and that's okay. Fear is just part of being human, and what matters is what you do with it. I think that's something a lot of us forget. We wait until we feel ready, until the anxiety's gone, until we're confident, until we're not afraid of failing anymore. But that day never really comes. The people who seem brave aren't fearless. They've just accepted that fear is going to tag along no matter what. So they start walking anyway. Stark embodies that lesson. His role as the tank in their group, the one who stands in front and takes the hits, says everything about who he becomes. He still trembles, but he doesn't move away from the fight anymore. And it's interesting to think about how it fits into the broader world of Frieren. Frieren herself represents control, centuries of refinement, the calm that comes from knowing you've seen everything before. Fern represents discipline, measured power, precise thinking. But Stark, he's the heart of the group. The reminder that growth isn't perfect or elegant. It's messy, it's human. Even the demons with all their raw power are stuck in instinct. They act without reflection. They don't change. That's what makes them dangerous and tragic. They're what happens when you remove fear and empathy entirely. Humans, though, evolve because they doubt, because they think, hesitate, reflect, and learn. That's what separates someone like Stark from the monsters he fights. The more I think about Stark, the more I realize that his story isn't just about him. It's about us. Most of us live somewhere between fear and forward motion. We second guess ourselves, overthink, hesitate, and then do it anyway. That's the space Stark lives in, and Frieren treats that space with respect. It doesn't shame him for being scared, it lets him grow at his own pace, just like Frieren did, and just like Fern is learning to. If Frieren's story is about remembering how to feel, Stark's story is about remembering how to act. And together they show that being human means doing both, feeling deeply and still stepping forward. The older I get, the more I appreciate that kind of courage, the quiet kind. The kind that doesn't announce itself, that doesn't look heroic from the outside, the kind that just whispers, "I'm still here." That's Stark, the coward who fought back, not because he stopped being afraid, but because he finally stopped letting fear make all of his choices.